And to conclude this matinee of work, we will focus on the best practices from the field. Through discussions with Champions for Peace, we will travel to India and Colombia to meet with leaders of impactful organizations. To open those discussions, the founder and chairwoman of TALGA will share with us her experiences from leading organizations, especially international cooperation agencies. To maximize the impact of programs through coalition, please welcome Her Highness Princess Albert Al Saud.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm really honored to be here today. I've participated in peace conferences throughout the past 10 years, all over the world, in Vietnam, Indochina, and the Nile Basin. So I'm really delighted that I am today participating in a peace event with a noble cause in my home country. I'm going to start with a cliche, but it's an excellent cliche. In the year 2000, Nelson Mandela said, "Sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than governments in breaking down racial barriers." Just 10 years later, after the speech, South Africa hosted the World Cup in 2010. That whole event was a symbol of hope, of breaking racism, of peace, of togetherness. It has been hosted in a country that very few people would have gone to if it hadn't been for the World Cup, especially during that time. Even though the South African team didn't win the World Cup, it did provide hope to the locals who looked on eagerly. In fact, it was the first time an African nation had ever hosted a World Cup. This moment was huge. And if one considers that football is the largest collective activity in the world, even bigger than any religion, at least in terms of number of people who either take part or follow football, we can begin to understand the power not only of this event in South Africa, but also of any sporting event held around the world. I myself have never had the opportunity to attend a football World Cup yet. Perhaps the largest international sporting event I have been to is the Longines show jumping tournaments, which happens all over the world. What I love about these sporting events is that it attracts people from all over the world. Suddenly, you have an arena, a platform where people from diverse backgrounds have a reason to spend time together. And while they are actually there to compete with each other, they are also there to socialize, to interact, and to exchange ideas, which they do. And in addition to that, because I practice equestrian since I was a child, I always believe that there is a metaphor of how equestrian, the practice of motion in equestrianism, teaches each person inner peace. The way riders jump over fences when they're doing show jumping, it is like a metaphor of how you should overcome obstacles in your life with as much grace as possible and as fast as possible, with grace and speed. So because I'd like to talk about this idea of being in one place for an extended time, whether it's a day or several days, this is the beauty and power of organizing sporting events. I'd like to talk to you about an event I took part in. It's a walk. It's like a trail. A famous walk known as the Abraham Trail, which I went on a few years ago in Jordan, which is a long-distance, 5-day long walking trail across the Middle East. I've done the Jordan part, but me and my colleagues who did it are hoping to reunite again and do the other Abraham trails in Saudi and Egypt as well. So I think of these walks or this Abraham Trail, I think these walking trails are like going on a pilgrimage. And that pilgrimage is being in a state of spiritual motion where people wander in an age-old way towards either a known or unknown destination. That is not only done to achieve a spiritual purpose, but is also the largest sports event in the world, where cultural and social exchanges happen between people coming together from different backgrounds. And one example of that is, I mean, in Saudi we have, we welcome people to do pilgrimage every year, where millions of people come to Saudi Arabia to perform pilgrimage 24/7, 365 days. So it's like a sporting event. It's a religious event, yes, but it's also an opportunity for cultural exchange as well, and for sharing also peace values with others and having dialogue. So going back to my story, just like a football World Cup, the Abraham Trail that I took brought together different people from different cultures in one place to unite. We spent 5 days, we slept in camps, we had to eat local food with amazing community people throughout our trails, and it was a beautiful experience for me. It was life-changing. And let me share with you a personal story about a person I met on this trail. This person was the son of a very famous religious and peace figure. We walked for 5 days. In that time, I found that slowly and gradually our differences fell away and we felt safe once again. Why is that? The reason is simple. In sports, you are in a safe environment, one that makes you feel safe so you can compete. During that 5-day walk, in that environment of collective activity, we created a safe enough environment that we could ask the most difficult questions. So I asked my friend during that Abraham Trail about the Holy Trinity. And he also asked me questions about my faith. Normally, I corrected misconceptions, he corrected misconceptions, and normally we perhaps wouldn't ask these questions of each other. But there, in that collective environment, it felt safe to do so. By the end of the 5 days, we had both learned about each other and made friends for life. That was 5 days. Imagine what you could achieve in a month or even a year of sporting events. We see the truth in Mandela's sentiment played out on pitches, fields, and courts every day. People who might never have looked each other's way become friends, bonding over the camaraderie of their favorite sports team. They will talk for hours on end about the history and future of that team, what they might have never stopped to talk to each other at all otherwise. Also, we see that when leaders bring sports to communities, it does make a difference. There is plenty of reason that we can see sports as the powerful tool it is. Sports provide a reminder to us. They open our eyes to the things that we may otherwise happen to ignore, to the love that binds us together and to the connection that courses through us all. Sports great for us as individuals, even better for us as people coming together. I propose that in order to harness all of these powers as efficiently as possible, we take a more planned and focused approach. Let's consider some possible strategies along these lines. The point of my story is that sport is a collective activity that unites people together where people feel comfortable to talk about sensitive topics. Sport is an excuse to speak and talk. It provided a lot of hope and breaks barriers that's the whole meaning with sports. Imagine that all this happened because of a sport. As I close, I ask you to reflect on the transformative power of all the sports and the opportunity that we have to seek out for peace, unity, and understanding. I believe that we have a responsibility to pursue this opportunity. Real changes come from real action. Toward that end, I extend a challenge to each of you. By hosting or even just participating in a peaceful sports day, you're doing more than just having fun. You're planting seeds of peace in your community. And collectively, we can nurture these seeds to create a forest of unity and understanding. The journey to global peace might seem daunting, but keep in mind, every journey begins with a single step. Just like the first step I took that year on the Abraham Trail in Jordan, imagine if each person in this room took action and organized a peaceful sports day in their local community. The ripple effect of such a movement could be monumental, reaching far beyond the individual community and potentially sparking a global wave of unity through sports. So, if sustainability is the main challenge of our future, or of our time, then peace will guide the way forward. And sports is an instrument of peace to inspire positive decisions, behaviors, and actions for us all. I wish you luck on your journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Highness. Thank you for this valuable contribution to the forum. As promised, we will now start our journey around the world. First, we go in India. The Nandi Foundation Sports for Life program began in 2018. It's a multi-sports grassroots program for 180,000 underprivileged girls through India, many of whom lived in rural areas. Through Sports for Life, Nandi Foundation is endeavoring to afford girls aged 6 to 16 years old the opportunity to live active and healthy lives, starting them on a sport journey for life. Watch this. And to discuss, also we have Rohini Mukherjee from the Nandi Foundation. We have also with her an Olympic champion in Taekwondo in Rio 2016 and champions for peace, world champions a few months ago. He will be one of the iconic athletes for the next year Olympic Games in Paris, Sheikh Cissé and Rohini Mukherjee. Please welcome them. Thank you, Sheikh. That's nice of you. Together. Yes, please. Take your seat.
Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be here as a champion for peace, and I'm honored to welcome Rohini Mukherjee from the Nandi Foundation to speak about women empowerment through sport. Rohini, with hundreds of thousands of beneficiaries across 70 regions, the scale of the Nandi Foundation is highly impressive. Could you introduce your organization and share with us your action and its program cycle?
Yes, thank you. I'm first of all very thankful for having an opportunity to speak here and to sit with you and World Champion. It's an honor. A couple of years ago, my organization, Nandi Foundation, we won an award here at Peace and Sport Forum. And at that time, we were working with about 36,000 girls. Today, it's 180,000 girls that we work with and about 6,000 women. And since then, we have had the very happy privilege of staying a part of the Peace and Sport family. We've been participating in the White Card Challenge every year. We've been part of the Peacemaker program. The time we won the award, I remember my colleague Lisa, who is here somewhere, we went with the award to different parts of the country, India, where our girls play, and they held aloft the trophy proudly for pictures. It was indeed their award. Coming back to your question specifically, Nandi Foundation is a not-for-profit in India. In fact, this is a very special year for us. We turned 25 this year. It's an organization that has been working with the vision of eradicating poverty. All our work, it's in agriculture, in training youth to get jobs. All our work is with the very lowest income families of the country. We introduced sports with our girls' education program back in 2019. And these are all girls from extremely low income homes. Neither them, nor their parents, nor their extended family have ever had any access or exposure to sports. We introduced the Sports for Life program with the objective of, as the name suggests, sports for life. We want sports to become a part of their life, a way of life for them, for the obvious reasons that many speakers today have spoken of. In sports teaches you so many things that perhaps school or college does not teach you. Very, very basic life skills. Very important points, again made earlier today, is not only do you learn how to win, you also learn how to lose and to pick up yourself and try to get better. You learn resilience, you learn teamwork, leadership, and basically how to include, you understand strengths and weaknesses of your team members and build a good team. So these were the reasons why we introduced sports. The two key sort of excitements in any year in sports for our girls, one is the Tufan Games. Tufan in many Indian languages means storm. So the Tufan Games is a set of athletics events that all our girls, I mentioned the large number a little while ago, 180,000 across about 6,000 villages, they all participate. In fact, as I sit here today and speak to you, the village level sports days are going on. Each of these girls participate in the races. All the data is collected, the race timings are collected, and then we use that to select the next level who participate at the district level and so on. And every year the grand finale is the national event on January 24th, which is the India Girl Child Day. The other excitement is football. You saw a glimpse of it on the video just now. where we have about 3 locations. We have about 1,000 girls of the 6 to 12 age group who play football regularly. And we have 2 football festivals, we call them. One in October, we just got over on the International Girl Child Day, and the other on Women's Day in March. So these are the 2 main excitements of the year as far as our sports program is concerned.
Impressive, impressive. So the next question, given the large number of girls and women accessing sport for the first time throughout your program, how does the diversity of your beneficiary plays a role for further to promote inclusion?
Yes. So given the large number of girls and women we do sports with, we have about 12 languages amongst all of them, 5 religions. So much is different amongst them. You know, their festivals that they celebrate are different, the food that they eat is different, the clothes they wear is different. But we have seen over the last couple of years that we've been doing sports, when they come together to play, sports becomes the common language. None of the differences really matter at that time. Never mind that they don't know, each other's language. They all know that you're here for sports. They all know they have to include everybody. They cannot leave anybody behind. They all know that they have to respect fair play. They all know that they have to, all of this is the common language that they exist in. And we have a sort of set of guiding principles for Sports for Life, in which including everybody and not leaving anyone behind is a very, very strong guiding principle. Here, it's not about who runs the fastest, it's about running together. I'll just give one example, one image I have in my mind, which is enduring over all these years, which embodies what I just told you about, how diversity is welcomed and celebrated. So it was one of those Tufan Game national events, and there was a break and everyone was taking a snack, and there were these 2 girls sitting. One was sitting on a step, the other was sitting behind her, braiding her hair. I knew both of them, and I knew that they have no common language. One lives in the Himalayas, in a place called Darjeeling, and the other lives in a town on the southern coast of India. No language between them, but that was not a problem at all. They were communicating through the language of sports. So that's diversity for us.
Nice, nice. As your program enable women empowerment and gender equity, what impact does it have of the ones actively participating to your program to develop capacity building, leading professionalization and employment?
Yeah, so like I said, we introduced our Sports for Life program for the girls. This is a 6 to 16 years age group, girls, very large numbers, and that was the objective. How were we going to deliver the program? We have about young women from the community who are much older, let's say the 18 to 25 age group, who are our sports allies. And initially the plan was for them to just deliver the practice plans and drills that we were sending out. However, these women began to get absorbed and engaged in what was going on in sports. Mind you, it was not part of our program design at all. But these women, again, coming from families in rural areas, low-income families, no exposure to sports ever. And living in their society, the expectations that society has from them, and is just, that they'll get married, look after their children, look after their family, and all their focus has to be on that. This is the background that they come from. But this minimal exposure that they started getting to sports, thanks to our work with the girls, they started asking for more. They came forward, they started supporting the girls. They, in fact, became our ground level advocates and champions. When they would go to the girls' families to speak to them and say, your girl's qualified for the district level, she has to travel out. She was an advocate for Sports for Life. She didn't realize it. When she was speaking to the local government officials saying, we want to use this playground for our next event, she was again, sort of championing the cause of Sports for Life for these girls from low-income families. And then this voice that they found, again, an earlier speaker today has said how this emanates into other parts of their life as well. Even at home, even amongst their extended family, in their society, they started getting a voice. Mind you, nobody expected that they would do this. They came to us and said, okay, we want to train to become coaches. If we want our girls to play, we have to become the coaches. There's no coach who's going to come from outside who's going to teach them. So we then started responding to what they want. And frankly, today there are these 6,000 women, some of whom you saw in this video, who are leading the whole movement, who are leveraging sports for equity and empowerment. It is not something that we sort of wrote theoretically as a theory of change on a piece of paper. No, they are leading it. Many of them now, we have just come back from our football festival of 11th October, and women who, we have about 300 women who are certified coaches, certification by the All India Football Federation. Now they want, some of them want to become referees. So now we are exploring options for training them to become referees. All of this is giving them livelihood opportunities.
Interesting. The work you are doing is really, really impressive and meaningful. So how is it life-changing for this girl and woman?
There are so many stories. There are so many stories I can tell you of how it's life-changing, but don't worry, I won't get into all of them. Maybe I'll tell you just one, and that'll be illustrative of what it can do for a young woman in India. So let's say a young lady called Bhavika. The first time I met her was 3 years ago. In her early 30s, two young children, lives with her father, with her husband and his parents. Came to us when we had sent out a call for young rural women who want to become football coaches. And she's come wearing a sari, something like this, covered her head because she comes from a very conservative family. And I'm looking at her and I'm wondering, she wants to be a football coach. I mean, how is it going to happen? But we let it go. And as she started attending our coaching sessions, I realized firstly, it was, there was a stipend that these coach trainees were getting. I realized that that small amount of money meant a lot to her family. So that is probably what drew her in the beginning. And the struggles she went through, we saw she would come in the morning for, she would have to wake up at 3 in the morning, finish her household work so that her mother-in-law did not feel that she was, leaving all the work to her, come for training in the traditional dress, quickly change out of her dress, get into her jersey and tracks, do her work and then go back. And slowly things started to change. She started arriving in her jersey and tracks. I'm like, Bhavika, what's happening? She says, I'm just wearing this, it's more convenient for me, it saves me time, and if anybody asks me, I sit them down and I explain to them what I'm doing. I have to be patient. They don't understand right away, but I have to be patient. They will understand someday. The evolution of this one, Bhavika, and slowly we saw she had all the traits that a coach needs, the empathy with the children, the firmness that the children sometimes need to motivate them, going to the children's homes to help their ecosystem understand why this sports is important. And cut to now, not only is she a D-level, so D-level certification is a level of certification provided by the All India Football Federation. She has just of last month been selected as a master trainer for the FIFA Sports for Schools program in India. She's just come back from a training there, and it was in a city she has never been to. Her husband went with her for this training, not because she needed looking after, but because of his wife having been selected as this, was getting a chance to see a new city. So it was almost like, the roles were reversed as far as this family is concerned. So I will leave you to imagine what kind of life-changing stories there will be, in our work, thousands of them.
Thank you very much. Rohini, thank you very much for being with us and the positive impact you are having to promote gender equity, inclusion, and women empowerment throughout the sport, the power of sport. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh. Thank you, Rohini. Thank you very much, and it was great to hear from you. Thank you. Football has an amazing power. To conclude our journey around the world, our last stop will be in Latin America, in Usme, a neighborhood of Bogota, the capital of Colombia. Gerson Flores is a man committed to peace and the founder of COP Colombia International. In 2008, Gerson created COP Colombia to continue his work on a higher level, promoting sport as a tool for prevention and coexistence. The story of this organization and beneficiaries demonstrates the needs for peace-oriented education and sport activities to foster resilience and help young people to manage conflicts in a non-violent manner. Watch it.
Cuando regresé a Bogotá, más o menos unos 15 días después, en televisión apareció la muerte de 2 niños por causa de una mina antipersonal y no sé, fue algo demasiado impactante para mí, me creó mucha tristeza, pero al mismo tiempo me generó mucha motivación, se convirtió en un reto.
Mi nombre es Cristian Sáenz, tengo 25 años de edad, actualmente bueno, soy formador deportivo de COP Colombia Internacional.
COP significa Constructors of Peace o Constructores de Paz.
Como bien lo saben, en todas las sesiones hay un partido de la paz. El día de hoy vamos a hacer el partido del silencio. Si yo hablo, le voy a dar un gol al equipo contrario.
Yo quiero una juventud que piense que son el presente de Colombia y del mundo, no solo el futuro.
El deporte y la educación es el mejor camino para que el muchacho vaya por el camino correcto.
Yo creo que no nos podemos cerrar a que como estamos en la localidad Quinta de Usme y que estamos lejos de todo, no podemos. No, yo creo que completamente sí podemos y yo soy el ejemplo como tal de que las cosas sí se pueden hacer si se sueñan, que los sueños como tal sí se cumplen.
And to discuss with Jason, an Olympic medalist in Taekwondo in London 2012 and representative of the Champions for Peace Club, Marlène Arnois. Come together, Jason Flores and Marlène Arnois, please. And your applause. Come over. Thank you. It's a pleasure to welcome you here, Jason. Buenos días. Last year, Marlène, you were part of the Juegos de la Amistad in Bogotá with Jason and Peace and Sport team, and I know you want to highlight the amazing work of COP Colombia. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mark. Indeed, it's my great pleasure to welcome an incredible leader and founder of COP Colombia, who will share with us his inspiring story. Gerson, as Mark said, I've had the privilege to experience the positive impact you're having on the field. What has driven you to found COP Colombia, and what were the first steps?
First, let me thank you all for your trust and for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. As you probably saw on the video, well, sport has been part of my whole life. It's my biggest passion. And I have played football since I was 4 years old. But in 1997, during my school holidays, I went with my dad and a friend of mine to visit some Colombian towns. I met many children sharing experiences and playing football in rural areas. So when I returned to Bogotá 15 days after, I see on the TV that 2 children died because of a landmine in one of the fields where we played. This was shocking and basically created a commitment in my heart to fight for peace and the rights of children. But it was in 2008 when I was invited to Norway for some conferences as a speaker that I met Norway Cup, one of the oldest and biggest international tournament for youth in football. And it reminded me that when I was a child, I wanted to represent Colombia not only as the peace boy, but as a football player. At that time, I was already an adult, so it was impossible. But I found an amazing opportunity for Colombian children to represent our country as sports ambassadors from vulnerable communities. And this was amazing because I met the directors of the tournament and I convinced them to sponsor the local expenses of a Colombian team. However, when I returned to Colombia, many people and institutions told me it was impossible, that the project was not real for vulnerable communities, that I should focus on rich clubs and children from rich families. And this was pretty much the same frame when I was a child. Many people told me that I had great peace initiatives, but not possible to be achieved because I was not from a wealthy family. Surprisingly for many, we managed to bring a boys team to Norway Cup in 2009, but also a girls team. And this is a beautiful story. It was the first time a Colombian female team will take part of these kind of tournaments. Most of these girls never played football before. And I have to say, the sports performance was not good, but there was something bigger than getting a trophy. The expansion of their outlooks of the world and sport was huge, and the Colombian teams were recognized as peace ambassadors through sport. So we got back to Colombia and shared the experience with the families, with the community, and it was a huge motivation for new beneficiaries. These girls, sorry, this last part is very important. These girls today, some of them are professional players.
Wow.
Some others are trainers. Some others have professional careers and keep practicing sport. And some others have their own kids being part of our project.
This is so impressive. Why do you think Cup Colombia has met incredible success in using sport as a tool for peace and coexistence?
Yes, on one hand, one of the keys is that we have promoted teamwork and leadership within our organization, which means we all feel like a family, and we also empower youth. It's a fantastic story how the current trainers and the board members of COP Colombia were beneficiaries of the program when they were children. So if we give the right tools and a close support to young people to build a life project, it's a solid base to succeed. We focus our programs on the human being more than the athlete, on the personal and social development more than competition and results, on a peaceful and inclusive ecosystem of sport more than extensive and tiring physical training. But on the other hand, we implement some sustainable development goals. And I want to focus on one. Goal number 17, partnership for the goals. I think positive synergies and coalitions are key to develop sustainable and ambitious programs. For example, we have a program on nutrition, and thanks to the Colombian Food Bank, we can develop goal number 2, zero hunger. We have another one called Scholarships for My Future, and thanks to the partnership with the University Única, we can provide superior education for goal number 4, quality education. We have some other programs, but
You just mentioned partnership. As we know, Cup Colombia has been part of the Peacemaker project since 2021. Could you tell us the benefits of the peace and sport methodology in USME?
yeah, so I want to start my answer by getting back about what I just said. Because Peace in Sport has been the most important partner for Cup Colombia to positive impact on a higher level our communities. So this means implementing goal number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. And I have to say, quality education has been key because implementing the Peace in Sport methodology has provided an amazing opportunity to have more professional training sessions, not only because of the well-structured activities, but especially because sport becomes a vehicle to build, develop, and maximize human values, soft skills, and peace and safety environments for the kids. So I think this is key, but more than that, on the other hand, we have the friendship games. This celebration has provided the opportunity for us to mobilize more than 3,000 kids over the last 2 years. And thanks to this, we will be able next month to start the expansion of the methodology for 16 new clubs in basketball, rugby, and football. So I think Usme, it's becoming a very important city as an example of peace through sport.
Your insight, enriched by your strong experience, are so valuable. What would be your key learnings and the most important elements to implement successful initiatives and inclusive sport programs for youth?
Okay, so first, I think we need to listen to the children, to get closer to them. We need to understand what their needs, wishes, and objectives are to practice sport in order to make powerful contributions to their lives. That's the first thing. On the other hand, the pillar of prevention is education. So we need to educate mind, emotional intelligence, and physical state at the same time. Sport is a powerful natural medicine for the brain to keep it young and healthy. Success and failure are part of sport, and it activates all part of the brain. To finish, I'll mention two more. First one, if we want to use sport as a tremendous tool, we need to educate children, families, and communities to love sport. Not to love competition, but to love sport. Because if we do so, then children and people in general will work to improve and challenge their own self, not to compete against others. And to finish, my message is, let's focus sport on personal and social efforts, on personal and social development, because a girl or a boy on the sport field is one less girl or boy out of the streets. Shukran.
Congratulations, and thank you very much for sharing your expertise. Hopefully, Cup Colombia will be a true source of inspiration for younger generations and grassroots projects. Thank you very much, Dursun.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you,
been an
Marlene.
honor.
Thank you, Jason. Muchas gracias. Bravo. En tout cas,
Thank you.
it was a pleasure.